I performed in Nashville for the first time last year. I was excited to go. And then a couple weeks before I went, they passed a law banning any performances by gender non-conforming artists. And I got titties and I pee sitting down. Neither of those conform to my gender. And so if like someone rats me out, like what's gonna happen to me? Like how illegal is this? And I don't know, but America's really into policing people's personhood, and I tell people that, they're like, no, America's inclusive. Our founding document starts with we the people. I'm like, yeah, that's not inclusive. If I say we all had a good time at Hilarities tonight, that means we all had a good time. If I'm like, we the people had a good time, you're like, who wasn't a person? And one of them white ladies bringing a cat, like what? Like, clap if you don't own property. None of y'all are people. In the structure of the sentence, we the people, because people own property. So if you don't own property, you're not a people. Now clap if you're a woman that owns property. Y'all ain't people either. Because you have to be a man that owns property to be the people and we the people. Clap if you are not white man that owns property. The band does a good job keeping that down. But y'all ain't people either. Because you have to be a white man that owns property to be we the people. So clap if you're a white dude that owns property. Congratulations, it's not your fault. Y'all have been people the whole time. So you don't know the real, every other group has had to go to court like, hey, I'm pretty sure I'm a person. And the court's like, you don't have to go talk to that other court about it. A lot of people don't understand like the whole trans thing. It's like, how could you be a he, him, and switch to she, her, or they, them? How you a they, them? And it's like conservative people have been transitioning for a long time, but it's usually from a person to an LLC. And I think once you realize that, and you're like, oh, well, they can be a person the same way business can. I think you'll be in a good place. But sometimes trans people make it uncomfortable too. Like there was a comic on my show, Bombing. And then in the middle of their set, they were like, oh, y'all don't like trans people. And they start kind of ragging on the crowd. And I'm like, oh, I don't think any of us have an issue with you being trans. We all just thought you was an ugly lady who was bad at comedy. Which is the most allied position to take. My dad is one of 17 children, which was a preposterous amount of people to come out of one person. That's full court 5-on-5 basketball with subs and coaches. Tremendous amount of people keeping everybody fresh. And like nowadays, you have that many kids, you get a book deal, you get a TV show. My grandma timed it wrong, she just got to raise kids. People are unfortunate. And they overturned Roe versus Wade, which is crazy because people hate pulling out. But they overturned it, so it made me look at my family as a case of like forced birth, like no choices, because my grandma had all those kids before that was even an option. And like, my grandma grew up poor in Puerto Rico, which like, you're an American citizen, you're just not allowed to vote because your collective opinions might fuck shit up. America learned from the Emancipation Proclamation, they're like, oh, we can't give that many brown people autonomy at once if they're still alive. That's why we let these hurricanes do a little bit of work. Not a lot of economic options on the island. There's 30 years between the oldest and youngest kid. That's a whole historical generation. My grandma gave birth to a whole chapter of history, which is crazy. I did a little digging, I found out my grandma was 13 when she had the first kid, which is like, Grandma, you little hoe. And then I found out my grandpa was like 18, 19. I was like, oh, you creepy as fuck. That's some like child bride, child rape shit, which is cool in most conservative states. Ohio's wonderful. I know, and it's one of those things you can't really Google, but it's true. And that's a big, looking at the impact of just tonight, one woman choices at 17 kids, I had kids, grandkids, now we're around like 150, 200 people. That's a lot of taxpayers, that's a little economy. A couple of veterans, some prisoners, which is America's favorite, they're like free labor. That's a big impact for just tonight, one woman choices. And I wonder if you gave my grandma a choice, what she would have done if you were like, hey, you want to start having kids right now for the next 30 years? She probably would be like, I think I might just want to go to 6th grade. Get this last year of recess under my belt. Next year we got to memorize locker combination. That sounds bad.